Fortitude, the new space documentary. I just did 2 interviews, and people were quite surprised by my process of making this documentary. It comes natural to me, but I thought maybe I'll also give a quick rundown of a couple of points, because some of you might be interested in how we made Fortitude and how unique and difficult the process was. I'll try to keep it short, and hopefully you'll learn something from it. So my process really works for me. And this is not better than any other process. It's not what film schools teach. It's not what other documentary makers make. But I really dislike the idea of having a script and then shooting to script. That is really maybe the main difference to my process. I can't imagine making a film about technology, spending 6 months writing a script and then shooting exactly the right interviews, making sure that people say exactly the right things, and filming it exactly like that. Because over the course of production, in this case 3 years, obviously many things will change. The industry will change, technology will change, but also my opinions will change. My attitude, my interpretation of events, of people will change. So I like to go in pretty much with an open mind, which means I don't have any script. I just start shooting, basically, to simplify it. So, yeah. In other words, the script is not really finished until the very end of the process. In fact, like I was in the voiceover studio and still fine-tuning a few words. I get to that in a minute. This obviously drives everyone nuts in the production and post-production team, but that's just how I do it. And one of the reasons is each interview, each thing that I learn will open a new door, a new introduction, we should visit this place. We should invite you to our mission control center. Why don't you come to Washington? And things I obviously cannot say no to, right? And so that's why fundraising, but also writing in advance is obviously very hard. And also I'm an entrepreneurial filmmaker, which means that I shoot first and fundraise later, which creates other problems, obviously. But I think that's the way to do it. You have to kind of be at your own risk. I'm not a filmmaker that gets hired by a studio or a streamer or a broadcaster to shoot whatever they want. No, I'm kind of here because I'm passionate about the topic. I want to tell the stories I want to tell. That's the reason. That's also the reason why it takes so long, right? And not having funding in advance and running out of funding also means I take much longer than maybe other documentary productions take. So what I'm just going to give you a few examples of like how for Fortitude we kept changing the details. All right. So as an example, Firefly, that was the rocket company out of Texas, was among the last interviews. In fact, I already was back in Germany. I didn't go back to Texas for this particular shoot, so it was a remote interview, which is fine because you've probably noticed that a lot of times interview subjects always get a few seconds, a little bit back and forth maybe, but it's fine. I don't need to be present for all the interviews. Obviously, for 90%, I'm there, and having a conversation really helps. But in this case, it just wasn't possible. Now, those guys really impressed me, and what they do uniquely well in this case was launching rockets very quickly. So we called it in the script, we call it the Express from Texas, right? But to use that kind of analogy, I then needed to go back to the other rocket companies in that segment and kind of also rewrite that. So before the Express from Texas, we have the Uber. And before that, we have the white-gloved limousine service. So when you now watch those sequences, which were filmed, again, over 2 years maybe, the last one being Firefly, it kind of makes sense. I'm taking you on this journey. So, okay, limousine and Uber and now the Express. And in fact, the limousine guy makes reference to SpaceX, which is a bus. So it kind of all makes sense, right? But that only makes sense because the last guy was the Express guy. So that's one example. Next one is I'm constantly influenced by stuff that's going on in the ecosystem, right? The influential blogs, the venture capitalists, the startups, the funding rounds, the scandals, everything that's going on. I'm trying not to include any references to this rocket launch or my previous film, a crypto coin or a price of it. That would be a mistake as a documentary maker to reference something very like a brief moment in time. I'm not doing news. I'm documenting space, the space industry in this case, for many years, and the film should be relevant for many years. But sometimes new things come up, and I want to reference them. Maybe it's an expression, it's a turn of words, it's a new conflict, it's a new company, right? So in the example of the Elon Musk rap battle, which we don't have fully in the film, but it's an important adjunct piece. It's like bonus content. It's a TikTok video we did, and also for our social media. We only show a few seconds of it, but there's a line in there, shape rotator. Shape rotator. That's a word that's that was very influential. I don't even know how to explain it now. In the Twitter sphere, for describing engineers, people that really do the hard science, the hard stuff, that build stuff, versus people who just do marketing and writing articles. Word cells versus shape rotator. So that word is in, but in order to get it in, right, that blog post must have been written before. So it was like a last-minute addition to the script, in this case, the song that I wrote. Another one is tech optimism. So obviously I'm a tech optimist, and I've been following all these people. That's kind of like my whole passion, making films to kind of convey that the future is bright, that we are building a better future for all of humanity, right? One very influential thinker and writer is Mark Andreessen. So he wrote a blog post. Actually, many of his blog posts became infamous, including software is eating the world, right? Like 10, 15 years ago. That was like an investment thesis that has played out very well. A recent manifesto that he wrote was about techno-optimism. I really tuned into this because it was very well written, and over time it really got a lot of traction. People really gravitated to it. There's a whole EAC movement now that's following it. EAC meaning effective accelerationism. So I'm following these cultures and subcultures in these words. So literally, the first sentence of the script is, my name is Torsten Hoffmann, I'm a filmmaker and a techno-optimist. Now that word was put in by me in the recording studio. So imagine the whole film is finished. There's 10,000 assets or 20,000 assets in the film, sound bites and little third-party footage and 90 interview bits and a lot of me talking right on film, audio bits, and everything is locked. It's a picture lock, right? So I have, I don't remember exactly, 2.7 seconds to say that first sentence, because everything else is fixed, right? So I needed to deliver that line very quickly in order to not get screwed up with everything else, because a second later, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson or whatever, whoever comes next in the script, is there. We can't change that. So in order for me to add a word that late, I need to make sure it fits. In fact, that didn't quite work with another thing I wanted to add last minute, where I did not have those extra. I think I wanted 5 seconds, but we didn't have them. Which also leads me to another point. Documentary filmmaking is fun and really satisfying, but it's also a lot of work. So when I just mentioned those 20,000 assets that's in the film, I think that's literally the number coming out of the editing suite. And you have to imagine that the team behind this, our production manager Iman, Will Henry, one of the producers, many others, Chris Kamen, they had to make sure that every single person that's in the film has signed a release form. Everywhere where we shot, we have a signed location permit. Every bit of footage that we use is a cleared chain of custody, where that footage comes from, where it was used, and what is our purpose of showing it. Did we acquire it? Did we license this? Where did we get it, right? Otherwise, I cannot publish a film like this on the big broadcasters or the big streamers. So that's just a complexity for filmmaking. And my films are relatively info-dense, so within 2 minutes of, let's say, the space history chapter, or what else would be pretty complex. Yeah, maybe we have a scene where we talk about the space station ISS as well. Lots of archival footage. So suddenly you're talking about I don't know, 20 shots within, I don't know, 30 seconds, and these 20 shots all need to be accounted for. That makes it pretty hard for every documentary maker, but for me especially because it's so info dense. Finally, I'm finishing up now. My thing is also I like to keep control, so from start to finish, which means I'm taking over a lot of the jobs in the film, including like the composing of the music in this case. This means it's not always perfect. I'm not a professional musician and composer, right? I'm not a professional color grader and like all these things, but I need to be able to kind of do all these jobs or direct the team of freelancers in that respect. Again, it takes more time, but I keep the control, and because we're short on cash always as documentary makers, it always takes a long time. Finally, think about this. Usually a documentary is done in a way that the beginning and the end is filmed last, right? So you make the film and then you figure out exactly how you want the end to look and to massage the end, right? And also the opening is usually done at the end, similar to the trailer. The trailer will also be done at the end. But the way my creative vision, the whole arc in that film is that I'm starting at this satellite ground station. That was a shoot in Ireland that we did. And at the very end of the end monologue, where I kind of summarize the whole journey, I'm again standing at that location with the satellite dish in the background. So, and that monologue is, I think, in 6 different locations, cut up. Right, and I'm summarizing. Oh, we went from this to this, from these people to these people, from here to from down to up, and stuff like that. So, and all this needs to be planned like years in advance almost, because when I'm standing on the beach, I need to say the exact right thing 2 years later in the editing. So that creates a lot of back and forth over a long period of time. And again, that's easy if you script it first and then shoot to exactly what your script is. It's easy, right? But I was in America maybe 1.5 years earlier, and Ireland was like, I think, the last shoot, or one of the last shoots. So you need to kind of all string this together to make sense. I'm sorry, this is a longer video than I thought, but I thought maybe some of you aspiring filmmakers or anyone interested in the making of would be interested in this. So thanks for listening to this. Bye.